Tokyo DisneySea might be the best theme park in the world, and obviously an enormous part of any theme park are its rides. So whether you're planning a trip soon or you just want to learn more about this super unique Disney theme park, you're in the right place, because in this video, we're going to talk about the best thing and the worst thing about every single ride in the park. Now I'm going to do these in alphabetical order, so naturally we're going to start with the number 2. I'm never sure where numbers should go in an alphabetical ranking. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. For the best thing about this ride, I'm going to call it unique. Every time I ride this thing, I'm just blown away by how unique it is. As soon as you even enter the queue and go down this spiral staircase towards the water, seeing these geysers erupting in the gorgeous, mysterious island, you eventually see your vehicle turning up, and the vehicle itself is just as well themed as the ride that you're looking at. It's so cool. And as you go through the ride, the lighting in the vehicle's changing. There's this little joystick and you can control a light so you can look around inside. It's just a really immersive, super cool experience that I think you do have to try if you're visiting this park, because it's just so unlike anything else you're going to see. Is it the best ride in the world? No, it's not, but it has these really immersive sets, these really fun little gags, and again, because of the weird, unique layout of the vehicles, whether you're sat on the left, the right, or in the middle, you're going to see very different things, so it's quite re-rideable as well. The worst thing about this ride, however, is how cramped the whole thing is. You can feel really claustrophobic in there, so if you're someone who doesn't like tight and closed spaces, definitely give this one a miss. You're sat on a very small bench, and then the window you're looking at is quite low down. I think it's because they wanted you to be looking down at the sets, because if you can look up, you're going to see the ceiling and some ride stuff that you're not really supposed to see. So I understand why it was designed this way, but you do just, especially as a taller person myself, you kind of end up hunched over, and it's not the most comfortable experience. Another thing that's kind of knocks this ride down a couple of notches is the sets are absolutely beautiful and super detailed. But then the animatronics are pretty basic and not that impressive. It's a shame this couldn't have had a few really kick-ass animatronics to really elevate it to that next level. But again, if you're visiting, I do recommend trying this. Okay, now we get to A, and Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey. If you've heard anything about the huge Fantasy Springs expansion that opened last year, you will already know a lot about this ride. This is the Frozen ride, as most people will know it as. Or maybe the Frozen ride in Japan. And the best thing about this ride is the way that it's theatrically telling this story, or retelling, I suppose, which does go into the negative as well, which we'll get to. But I love the way that they're quite loose with this sort of reality of this ride. Like I just said about 20,000 Leagues, it's amazing how immersive and how consistently everything tells the same story. Everything is there for a reason, and it's all to immerse you in this world. With Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey, they were kind of like, let's just do what we need to do to make this a cool ride. So the castle, Arendelle Castle, is actually the restaurant, and this ride is sort of built into the mountainside with Anna's ice castle in the distance. But as soon as you get into the indoor part of the queue, you're in Arendelle Castle. Does it make sense? No. But who cares, right? You want to be queuing in the castle because that works for the ride. And a lot of this ride is like that. You might be thinking, John, I thought you're supposed to be talking about the best thing about this ride. No, I am, because I think they've allowed themselves to be theatrical with it. The best example I can give is when you go into the first scene that you see the Anna and Elsa animatronics, and they're little kids, and Anna knocks on the door, dun 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 dun, do you want to build a snowman? And then as the ride vehicle is moving on a turntable, the door turns around, and we see Elsa on the other side, and this projection mapped ice frosting that covers the door. And this room makes no sense, right? The wall is not attached to the other walls. Like, none of it makes any physical sense for a real room. But that's what I love about it. I love that it's so theatrical. And when I saw this room, my jaw dropped, because I've never seen anything like that in a ride. The next scene's a great example as well. You move back through the castle, you see Anna singing. Would there be a giant waterway that boats can ride through in the middle of the castle? Of course there wouldn't be, but who cares, right? See, and you move backwards, you see Anna singing, and then the whole point of the For the First Time in Forever song is that you see Anna's perspective and then you see Elsa's perspective, and they're both like, oh, it's finally time to open up, but Anna with a positive context and Elsa with a negative context, right? And the way they pull off this reveal is that the ride vehicle moves backwards from Anna, and you can still see Anna singing in the distance, but now we've got Elsa in the foreground as well. Oh, it's just brilliant. Some of the effects in the next scene, I love the way Elsa throws her hand out and all these icicles pop out. The way Anna freezes at the end is super cool. I mean, I could go on and on. I've done a whole video talking about this ride, so I'll resist the temptation to do that here, but it's absolutely fantastic. The worst thing about it, however, is something that immediately struck me the first time I wrote it, which was, that's just a clip from the movie, isn't it? I don't love that, like, the trolls are telling this story in the beginning and then, oh, that's just clips from the movie? Okay. Like, I wish they could have made some original animation that was like the rocks were kind of moving and telling this story. It was like cave paintings that had come to life or something. I don't know. I wish they could have done anything other than just show you bits of the movie. For me, it pulls me out of the ride and it makes me immediately think, oh yeah, I'm on a ride that's based on a film, rather than being like immersed in the experience. But hey, this ride's fantastic, definitely worth doing. Next up, we're over at Port Discovery for Aquatopia. This is a very fun little ride outside, and honestly, the best thing about this ride is not being on the ride itself. I think the best thing is that it adds tons of kinetic energy to this whole area. To be honest, this area, Port Discovery, wouldn't really be an area without Aquatopia. Aquatopia is what makes it a thing, that when you come around the corner and see it, you're like, ooh, what's going on here? This is exciting, this is interesting. That's all Aquatopia, doing all of that. So I think as much as the ride is quite fun to do, it's all that kinetic energy that's the best thing about it. The worst thing about Aquatopia, I've written pointless with a question mark at the end, because I've had more than one person describe this ride as being pointless. And it's sort of an odd thing to describe a ride as, right? Because all rides are kind of pointless in a way. Like, what are they really achieving? But I guess the fact that you just get in this vehicle, you move and then you stop, and then you turn and stop, and move again and stop, and move backwards and stop, and turn and stop. It does feel a bit frivolous and a bit silly. Like, it's quite odd. But when you think of it as just a small little silly flat ride, it's quite fun. I like it. And it's one of the rides at DisneySea you don't have to wait over an hour for, even on quiet days. So you've got to give it that as well. Next up is not actually a ride, but it is an attraction that I do want to talk about, Ariel's Playground. So inside the Mermaid Lagoon area of the park, there's a huge indoor area with a massive theater that's been closed for 5, going on 6 years. Come on, get that thing back open, please. But just across from the theater is a very small, modest sign that says Ariel's Playground. And you would be forgiven for thinking this is just a little kids area that you don't need to go near. And parts of it are quite kids area-y, but it's a bit of a hidden gem, really. When anyone asks me about hidden gems at the park, this is what I think of. Because it's a really immersive environment. There's some really cool little effects and things. You never know where anything quite is. You're always discovering something new around every corner. It's sort of like a micro theme park in the theme park. Like, it has all these different areas, and the best part has to be finding Ariel's grotto, which looks like straight out of the film, you know, the part that she sings Part of Your World from. We even have the huge Prince Eric statue in the middle there, and it's just full of these little details. There's like this kaleidoscope thing you can look through. Sebastian appears sometimes in one area of it. There's so much going on in here. It's a really sweet area that I definitely recommend spending some time in. The worst thing about this is some of it is pretty dated, especially the Ursula area, which is such a shame, because you go through, like, there's like the teeth going into Ursula's lair, and you go in through this like giant skull of, I don't know, some sort of aquatic mammal or large fish, I'm not sure exactly, but it's so creepy and eerie. And then you get around the corner and it's this old TV with like still images of Ursula moving around like a PowerPoint, and it just, everything else is so cool, and then that's the focal point, and it's like, eh. So I wish they would update that. You know, for better or worse, Tokyo Disney don't tend to update things, and sometimes, yeah, it is for the better, and in this case, I think it could do with an update. Or like, I don't know, put something else there, put a real Ursula figure there or something. I don't know. Next up, big city vehicles, and like Aquatopia, I think the best thing about this isn't the ride itself, it's the fact that when you're walking through this recreation of 1920s New York, you have these really distinct 1920s vehicles, each one's totally different, and they're driving through, and they just add a bit of kineticism, they add some placemaking, they make it feel a bit more like a real place, it's super cool. And they are fun to ride on as well. I think it's a nice invitation to just sit and enjoy the area. I think when you're on foot, you can fall into a trap of being like, where are we going next? Where's this ride? Oh, who needs the toilet? And whatever. And you can forget to just stop and take in this amazing themed place. But when you're on a ride like this, all you're doing is sitting there and looking at the place. And that's the experience, right? So it's very, very cool for that reason. The negative I'm going to say is something that didn't used to be the case. So this used to actually be a transportation ride that would take you from the New York area of American waterfront to the Cape Cod area of American waterfront. It's not far away, but it would transport you from one place to another, which I think is a pretty cool thing. I don't know when exactly, but they stopped doing that at some point, and that's kind of a shame, right? Like, it would be cool to get on it and then get off it somewhere else. Like me saying that it makes it feel like a real place, that makes it feel like a real mode of transportation, right? If you get in a taxi vehicle and it takes you to another place, it's like, oh, we rode that for a reason. And maybe that would encourage more people to ride it as well, because it is fun. Anyway, next up, Blowfish Balloon Race. This is one of the very small little spinny rides in Mermaid Lagoon. But the best thing about this, I've said cute faces. The faces of the blowfish on this ride are really, really cute and adorable, and I like looking at them. The worst thing about this is it does get the longest wait out of all of these little flat rides. So if you do have young children, or you just want to get a bit of that nostalgic sort of spinny, winny ride feel, this is not even going to be the ride for you, because I think it's the biggest of all of these, so it attracts the most attention, and it sometimes gets waits of like 30 or 40 minutes, and it's definitely not worth that much wait. So yeah, one to avoid on the busier days for sure. Speaking of nostalgic, spinny, classic rides, it doesn't get much more classic than the carousel, right? And DisneySea is home to a carousel in the Arabian coast area of the park, interestingly enough. And I think the coolest thing about this is the exterior of the building and the fact that it's a double-decker carousel. And it just fits into this really well-themed area so well, so seamlessly. And again, it gives you elevated views of the area because it's double-decker. It being double-decker also means more people can fit on it, so it's very, very rarely more than a 5 or 10 minute wait for this thing. It adds this element of, oh, do you want to go upstairs or downstairs? It plays music from Aladdin in that classic sort of player piano carousel kind of way. It's really, really sweet, and this is definitely of these small spinny flat rides, this is the one I do the most as a local, for sure. The negative I've written, it's a carousel. I mean, it's a carousel. You know what you're getting. It's not the most thrilling or exciting experience, but it is nostalgic. You can't take that away from it. Next up, DisneySea Electric Railway. And the best thing about this, which is the best thing about a lot of rides at DisneySea, to be fair, it offers gorgeous views of this beautiful, beautiful theme park. You know, I just said about the carousel, how it's cool that you get the choice between going up or down. There's a little choice that you make when you get on the electric railway, which some people don't even realize they're making, but that's which side of the vehicle you sit on. And this is a huge thing, because if you sit on the northeast side, if you sit on the Tower of Terror side, you're going to see Tower of Terror, and you're going to see Aquatopia and Port Discovery, and you're going to see the actual sea, the actual ocean, which is pretty cool. If you sit on the other side, however, you're going to see Mediterranean Harbor, and you'll see the volcano Mount Prometheus. And if you do this at nighttime, which I did recently on my last visit to DisneySea, actually, I have vlogs on this channel as well. If you want to check those out, please do. Please subscribe and all that stuff as well, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I realized that if you ride this during the nighttime show and you go on that volcano side, you get some pretty amazing views of Believe Sea of Dreams, the nighttime spectacular at the park. So if you're not too bothered about seeing that entire show, this can be a cool way to get a little bit of it. The negative I've written about this is that it does get long-ish waits on busier days. And the thing is with this is it really is a mode of transportation. You do get on/off at American Waterfront, and it can take you to/from Port Discovery. And that's quite a considerable distance. Like, it is quite a real mode of transport. Again, in that vlog I just talked about, I wanted to get to Fantasy Springs from American Waterfront, which is a very long way. It's like a 25-minute walk. The electric railway cut that in half. But when the queue is like 20, 25, 30 minutes, it stops being a mode of transport, really. It stops being something that can save you time in your day, you know, and it becomes like a ride in its own right. And like I say, it does offer some really cool views. It is worth doing, but yeah, for a long way, it's not as efficient as it could be. Next up, we're looking at another mode of transportation that also starts with the word DisneySea. This is the DisneySea Transit Steamer Line. There's actually a great little bit where when you ride the electric railway that we just talked about, you see a billboard in New York for the Transit Steamer Line. I love how all these companies and all these rides like talk to each other in this park. It's so well done. Anyway, okay, so I have to explain with this. There are 3 stops around the park that you can get on/off the Transit Steamer Line. However, it doesn't work in the way you might expect. So there's Mediterranean Harbor, which is near the entrance of the park, and Lost River Delta, which is near the back. And these 2 do work the way you probably expect. If you get on at one of them, it will take you to the other, and vice versa, of course, right? So this is a mode of transport, again, taking you right from the front of the park to what used to be right at the back of the park, but Fantasy Springs has added a lot onto that, which honestly makes these transport rides even more valuable and useful, because if you're going all the way to the back of Fantasy Springs, being able to rest your legs half the way makes a big difference. But yeah, the 3rd stop, which is in American Waterfront in the Cape Cod area, if you get on it here, it will not take you anywhere. It will do a full round trip of the entire park. And whilst this is a super useful mode of transport, that's my favorite thing to do. Because again, this theme park is very, very pretty to look at. So getting in a boat and just taking a good 10, 15 minutes to soak up the entire park from this unique angle, right? Lower down. You get these amazing reveals of each area. It's beautiful. It's really, really, really nice. So I like doing that. I recommend doing that to a lot of people. The negative I've written about this, which isn't really a negative of this ride, but it's more of a grumble about Fantasy Springs itself, is that this doesn't go through there. And you know, for the first 20 plus years of this park, this was the ride that touched every single area of the park. You can ride this and you're like, oh, that's the entire park. And you get an understanding of what DisneySea is. Now there's this one part where you're like, oh, I guess Fantasy Springs is over there. Huh, okay. It's a shame they couldn't have made this work, but whatever. Speaking of Fantasy Springs, next up is Fairy Tinkerbell's Busy Buggies. The best thing I've written about this is something that any long-term viewers of this or listeners to my podcast, Rising Fun Pod, will be aware of. Cheese. Cheese. He's over here. There he is. Cheese is the name of the mouse, which is the only animatronic in this ride and the best animatronic in the world ever. It's Cheese. Look at him. What more do I have to say? The negative about this ride, which again will be something that anyone who listens to Rising Fun Pod will be aware of. Podcast available on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, Rising Fun Pod. Where are the fairies? This is called Fairy Tinkerbell's Busy Buggies. Again, the only animatronic in the ride is a giant mouse. Why are there no fairies in this thing? It's so bizarre. It's so weird. But yeah, best ride in the park. Don't miss. If you spend your entire day just riding this again and again and again, you've had the quintessential DisneySea experience. Next up, Flounder's Flying Fish Coaster. Honestly, for a little kiddie coaster, this has some really fun theming. I love the way that it's kind of sunken into the ground. I like the way that the water splashes around the vehicles. The vehicles themselves are super, super cute. That might be the best thing about it, actually, but I can't just say everything in Mermaid Lagoon is cute, like the Blowfish and Flounder's Flying Fish. But yeah, for a tiny little kid coaster, it's had so much love and care put into it, which is really, really sweet. On the flip side, compared to the rest of the park, I don't know if even as nice as it is, it does look a bit plastic and a bit cheap and a bit not quite up to the same standard that so much of this really highly themed theme park is. But I think yes, at times you do have to remember, like, this is a Disney theme park. There are things for younger age groups. This will have been millions of people's first ever roller coaster, and it's a fantastic ride for that. It's cute. You look down at the ride, which makes it look a lot smaller than it is. It minimizes the height. This was my daughter's first roller coaster. First Disney coaster, I'll say that. And I'm so glad it was, because it gave her the confidence to do much bigger and better things. Next up, Fortress Explorations. You've probably seen a lot of views like this of the volcano at the back, and you look at the volcano and you might wonder to yourself, what's all that stuff in front of the volcano? It looks like a little castle or something. That's Fortress Explorations. That's an entire walkthrough attraction. There's so much to this thing. There's so many different areas to it. There's the splash pad. There's the whole ship outside the front that you can explore. It's just an amazing area to explore. But easily the best thing about it is the Chamber of Planets. You step in here and you're surrounded by the sound of Gregorian chanting. The light is dimmed. You can see this enormous sculpture, this moving kinetic sculpture of the solar system above us. And it's a moment when you realize how special this theme park is. That's when you're like, oh, okay, they were doing something pretty special here. The people who designed this place are artists. Like, this is artistry. Anyone who thinks Disney parks are just seeing Mickey Mouse costumes and riding rides based on Disney films, like, you want to show that, you want to just drag them into this park and show them this room and be like, you're wrong. This is high art, damn it. But yeah, this room is very special. The negative of this is you kind of hope that this is the last room that you find, because once you've seen this room and some of the others that are really, really cool, your expectations are pretty high for the other ones. And there are a lot of rooms in this place where you get in and you're like, oh, okay. Like, there's not that much going on in them. But the ones that are good are amazing. And you haven't been to DisneySea unless you've spent some time in Fortress Explorations. To quickly go over the Leonardo Challenge, this is a sort of fetch quest thing. It's like a tiny little game, I hesitate to say, that basically takes you around. You go around, you find certain things and write them down on a bit of paper. There's not much to it. But the positive with this is that it's in English now, apparently. I haven't tried it in English yet, but I've done it in Japanese a couple of times. And the worst thing about it, from my experience, is that it really doesn't add much. I think it's basically something to encourage younger kids to explore this area. But if you just go into this area with the mindset of, I should explore this because it's really pretty anyway, you don't really need this incentive, and it can actually be a bit distracting, if anything. Next up is a ride that is closed right now, and we don't know when it will reopen, but it will reopen, but we don't know when it will reopen, but it will. So don't worry, but we don't know when, which is a shame. This is Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Crystal Skull, which is the longest ride name out of any rides at Tokyo Disney. Yes, I counted all the letters myself. I'm that much of a nerd. This is an action-packed ride. This is like the thrill ride of all thrill rides. This is a ghost train mixed with a roller coaster. It's not a roller coaster, but to some people it feels like one. It's like a very bumpy Jeep ride. And you're just whizzing through these scenes, seeing all these different things, skeletons coming towards you, a giant snake, this glowing skull. And then you get to this really, really cool part where the vehicle stops. And there's this sort of hollowed out face in the wall, you know, sort of like Temple of Doom style, like a trap. And then he shouts one of 6 different phrases, which I typed into Google Translate once, and it did not say the thing that I think it's supposed to say. At least I hope not. I'll be amazed if that's what it's saying. But yeah, he shouts this phrase at you, and then you see this like smoke ring come towards the vehicle and like hit you. And like, how often in a ride does something actually physically hit you, you know? This fireball just bashes you in the face, especially if you're in the front row. It just hits you in the face. It's so cool. I love it. So that's my favorite thing about it, despite whatever profanity he's shouting at me. The worst thing about this ride, in my opinion, is there's one part of the ride where the headlights on the vehicle are supposed to be lighting up, but in fact it's a projection on the wall, and it's supposed to be, oh no, the wall's all covered in bugs. Ah, that's horrible. And not only is that kind of lame anyway, like, oh, there's bugs everywhere, like, I'm on a ride, I know it's not real, you know, whatever. But also, these projections are pretty dated. I mean, this ride opened with the park in 2001, and I don't think they've really been updated in any significant way since then. Again, it's closed for a very long time right now, so I'm hoping when it reopens, this is something that will be renewed and fixed. I'll be very surprised if it's not. But as it stands, that's what I think the worst thing about this ride is. It's a very good ride. It's hard to find something that's not good about it. Slight change of pace now. Jasmine's Flying Carpets. This is a spinny little, basically a Dumbo ride if you've done those things. You move the toggle up to go up, you move the toggle down to go down. You can look at it right now and you understand what it is. You don't need me to explain what it is. But again, this is DisneySea, so the best thing about this is the amazing views that you get. You get some really nice views. And to be perfectly honest, you can get very similar views from this lovely little balcony they've built behind it. So you go up these stairs and you can watch people on the ride and get these amazing views right up to the castle. You can see Tower of Terror and Journey to the Center of the Earth from there. It's a really cool view. The negative, which I've talked about before, is that this doesn't really fit thematically in this area very well. You're probably thinking, Jordan, it's an Aladdin land and this is an Aladdin ride. What are you talking about? Well, just humor me for a second. So the other side of Arabian Coast is like the palace, right? That's where the carousel was that we saw before. The Magic Lamp Theatre is there. But that whole area is the palace, right? That's the more prestigious area. That's where the money is. That's where the princess would be. We go through the port and eventually the buildings get more and more run down. And as we get to the waterfront, the Sinbad ride is there and these walls are completely derelict and they've been falling to bits. You know, this is the poorer end of town. But after this area opened, a few years later, they added this Jasmine ride and it just, these gleaming white palace walls just, they don't really fit together, but whatever. It's a theme park after all. I do have to resign myself to that fact occasionally. Next up is a ride that does not lack any thematic integrity. This thing is, every little inch of it is telling the story. Journey to the Center of the Earth. And my goodness, this is a very special ride. This is the ride at the park. Probably the best ride at probably the best theme park in the world. There's so much to it. The queue, the exterior of the ride. I mean, the exterior of the ride is that volcano you've been looking at all day. Like this, it erupts into flames. That's this ride. And then you get into it and you go down a little elevator. You go down the Terravator, excuse me, thousands of miles deep into the ground. And you're on the station and there's all this giant machinery that's all moving and it all works because Tokyo Disney actually keep things working. And you board the vehicle and you think it's going to be this dark, dingy, kind of gnarly experience. But you go around the corner and there's these singing multicolored crystals. And there's these beautiful bioluminescent forests where the mushrooms seem to be dancing. And there are these cute glowing creatures. And then things start going wrong and we encounter maybe the best animatronic in the world. Maybe. Certainly one of the most imposing. Lava Mama, the giant lava monster. As soon as this thing looks at you, you just freeze in place. It's like, oh my God, that thing is going to kill me. That's a real lava monster. I'm in the center of the earth and that's going to kill me. Because it's not just big. It's big and it's also nuanced in its movement. It has these tiny little pincers that are also moving. It's surrounded by flames. You've just seen a real fireball go off. This ride is insane. And then right after this, you launch off into a fast speed portion of the ride. Like, how could this thing get any better? Oh, this is the best ride in the world. Oh. Yeah, that's the worst thing about this ride. As amazing as this thing is, and I could talk on and on and on about how good this ride is, and I'll probably do like a 3-hour video just about this ride at some point because it's that damn good. The main complaint that you hear, and I have to agree with it, is that the fast part of the ride is over a bit too quickly. It's a real shame, especially if you're used to Test Track or Radiator Springs Racers in the American Disney parks. This is the same ride system, so it feels very similar, and you just expect that fast part to go on for a bit longer, and it doesn't. But, you know, for how amazing everything up until that point is, you have to look at it as like you get the zoom, you get the launch, and then you get the part where you leap out of the side, you get amazing air time at that point, and then the vehicle starts to slow down. Like, that was the thrilling section of the ride. And, you know, it earns the right to that. Don't miss this ride. It's incredible. And always check the ride schedule closures before you visit the parks, because right now, this ride is closed for a scheduled maintenance, and if I was traveling halfway around the world to go to DisneySea, I would be very upset if I didn't get on this. Make sure you get on it. Okay, from maybe the best ride in the park to maybe the worst ride in the park, jumping jellyfish. I mean, it looks cool. It looks cool. That's almost part of the problem. It's sat in this dark corner of the indoor part of Mermaid Lagoon, and it's like UV lit, and you see these glowing jellyfish moving up and down. It's like, oh, what's that ride? That looks kind of cool. And then you get on it, and it is super slow. I've written slow AF. But the worst thing about this ride, it's like, you couldn't feel it less. It's like the ride is trying to move you. It's trying to make sure you don't notice that you're being moved. It's that slow. It's like, oh, there you go. Just bobs up and down very, very slowly and then comes down to the ground. It's a little baby ride for babies. But this is a problem that you see at DisneySea quite a bit. The Tinkerbell ride has this problem as well, is that Because it's DisneySea, it looks fantastic. It looks so good. The entrance looks amazing. And then the ride can't deliver because it is a little ride for little kids. And that's fine. Every theme park should have little rides for little kids. But DisneySea sells everything as like this amazing experience. And not everything can be and not everything should be. However, things should exist. Things should be open. Things should be available for you to do. Especially if they have this big grand entrance that I'm talking about, you know? And that's the enormous problem with the next attraction I'm talking about, Mermaid Lagoon Theatre. I'm going to talk about the worst thing before I talk about the best thing, because the worst thing is definitely the more important thing, and that's that it's been closed for over half a decade. Ever since the parks closed temporarily for COVID in 2020, they were never quite the same, and there's a bunch of things that have changed, but this is maybe one of the saddest ones. This was a really cool show. And this is the attraction in Mermaid Lagoon. This is the reason people go into that indoor area and then find Ariel's playground that we talked about. Or maybe they do the jumping jellyfish or one of these little rides, because why not while you're in there, right? But with this theatre closed, that's thousands of people an hour who would be sat in the theatre watching the show, because it was continuous all day. And then probably another couple thousand people who would have been in that area of the park, making the queues of everything else lower and letting people enjoy this area of the park, because it is pretty cool in there. So yeah, it sucks that it's closed. The best thing about it is that like Ariel was just like swimming over your head. Like this was a real human actor, performer, I should say, an amazing performer who's playing Ariel whilst attached to this trapeze and yeah, flying over, swimming, I guess. Not flying, but you know. But yeah, it was a really cool show, and I don't expect it to ever come back at this point, but I really hope we can get something in there. Let's get a new show in there. The show that was there before this one had a giant Ursula puppet, I think. I don't think it was an animatronic, but it looked very, very cool. Let's get something with Ursula again. Let's do something. Or just get rid of it and build a Little Mermaid ride, whatever. Just having this big entrance to a theater in this area that's been closed for 5 years is very, very sad, and it's not okay. Fix it. Next attraction we're looking at, Nemo and Friends Searider. And the best thing about this ride is before you get on the ride itself, I think. The coolest thing about this ride is that you get inside this building and they tell you about how this submersible vehicle, which of course has to have a cute fish face because of science and stuff. I have him over here, actually. Oh, sorry, Mickey. This is Searider, the Searider vehicle. You see a big one of these. And then these bubbles come up in front of it, and before you know it, it's been shrunk. That's my magic. I actually just moved it further from the camera, but to you idiots, it looks like it's shrunk, right? Shrunked. I speak English. But yeah, I think that's the coolest part, because that's like a physical thing that actually happens. And the rest of this ride, it's a simulator. You get in your vehicle, you put your you put on your seatbelt, and then there's this screen door opens and you're just watching a screen with a Finding Nemo. And that gets me onto the worst thing about this ride, which is that it's not tremendously exciting. You know, the world of Nemo, there's some like peril in there, mild peril. I think they'd put on like the back of it if it was a DVD, you know. But like there's not much to get your teeth into. It's mostly sold on like, oh, look how cute these fish are. Look how cute and colorful this world is that you're in. And that's nice. I really like the music. The music of Finding Nemo is really beautiful. So it's nice to just hear that like from time to time. But yeah, if you miss this, you're not missing much. We're back at Fantasy Springs now for one of the most divisive rides, I guess. Some people absolutely adore this thing, and some people say it's not worth even doing. And I don't think it's the best ride in the world, but I think it's worth doing. You should absolutely do this ride. This is Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure. And I think the best thing about this ride is that it just does so much. I think there are so many rides based on films where they can't quite get everything in, you know? The Beauty and the Beast ride next door at Tokyo Disneyland, as incredible as it is, so many people come off it like, oh, well, why wasn't Gaston in there? Or like the Rapunzel ride in Fantasy Springs, which we'll get to. Like, oh, I wish Mother Gothel could have been in there. Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure does everything. You see like every character from the Peter Pan film. You go to every location in those films. You hear all the different songs. Like it just does everything that you would want it to do. It's an adventure ride, and then it's a beautiful flying simulator ride, and then it's a fun like comedy thing with the lost kids all getting up to their hijinks and whatever. It has so much to it. And the worst thing about it is it's mostly screens, and I don't think that's a terrible thing. I think it's fine for a ride to be a screen ride, and that's what this is. And if you go into it knowing this is a screen ride, it's a very, very good one. It's a very fun one. It's pretty magical. My two friends, including Alex, who I do Rising Fun Pod with, the podcast, he cries every time we ride it, so it definitely is emotionally affecting to a lot of people. But and it does all of that with just screens. And, you know, I guess the thing is, like, if it did all of that with real physical sets and animatronics, would it be way better? Yeah, it would. But it would also be like impossibly huge. It would probably be the size and budget of the entire Fantasy Springs expansion. So for one of 4 new rides that we got, it's pretty great. And I like that DisneySea has one of these like Spider-Man style, Transformers style screen rides, you know? Speaking of Fantasy Springs' budget and when it was being built and everything, the best thing about this next ride, Raging Spirits, used to be that you can see into Fantasy Springs. And like, I used to just ride it again and again, like, oh, look, there's Neverland and that. Oh, I think I saw Rapunzel's tower. And now that part of it is not so exciting. But the cool thing about this roller coaster is its theming. This is a very small, compact roller coaster. There's not a ton of thrills to it, which I'll get into. But my goodness, do they sell it? Do they pile on the effects? You're going through these hot and cold mist. I mean, as soon as you look at the ride, you're seeing water on fire, which I don't think is physically possible, but, you know, Disney magic and all that. It's so well themed. And then you get on the ride and it's pretty boring. Like, it's super smooth, which is actually what I wrote down for the positive about this ride, but it has to be the theming because the theming is so good. But yeah, a lot of people, like my mum, when she rides a roller coaster, the first thing she talks about is how smooth it was. And she got off this and she's like, it's very smooth. Yes, it is, Mum, it is very smooth. But it's so smooth to the point of almost being boring. Like, it doesn't do much for you. Which again can be a good thing, especially if, like, again, to talk about my daughter doing things for the first time, this was her first upside down looping roller coaster, and I had so much confidence that she would be absolutely fine doing it because it's so smooth and, like I say, boring. So, like, and she got off and she was like, oh, is that it? And I think for us, adults, who want like a big thrilling ride, you get off and is that it? Is like the biggest insult possible, right? Oh, is that it? But for a kid who just did it for the first time, is that it? Is like, that was like one of the best things I could hear as a parent, right? Because it's like, oh, she feels so confident. She feels like these things that she thought were so big and scary are actually not so scary, and she can do it. And that was a really special moment. So yeah, again, you have to think about who these rides are for, right? Next up, Rapunzel's Lantern Festival. And I just said that Peter Pan divided people the most about the Fantasy Springs rides, but I don't know, maybe this one did as well. There was definitely some controversy around this one. Let's start with what it does right. And this is all it really needed to do right, and clearly they knew that, is when you go under that bridge and you hear the song, Now That I See You, fading in, you see all these lanterns that gradually surround you in the boat, and then you can see Flynn and Rapunzel staring deep into each other's eyes and singing this beautiful Alan Menken song. Not the best Alan Menken song in this park, by the way. It's not even the best Alan Menken song that's on a boat ride at DisneySea, but we'll get to that. But it's a beautiful song. And I said that Peter Pan's never made me cry. This did. This is the only ride at Fantasy Springs that's made me tear up, because this scene is so well done. And it's a damn good thing, because it's basically the whole ride, is this scene. Before this, you see Rapunzel in the tower. You see that off-ride as well. You see that, like, before you even get in the queue. So that almost doesn't feel like part of the ride, even though you do get a great view of it on the boat, and it is super cool, the outdoor area. But then you get inside, and you see this tiny scene of Rapunzel spinning around a tree, and then you see an establishing shot of the Snuggly Duckling, which would suggest we're going to go in the Snuggly Duckling next, right? But you don't. You then see Rapunzel healing Flynn with her magical hair power. And then you see an establishing shot of Rapunzel's castle kingdom, the Kingdom of Corona, I suppose. I don't know why they didn't name the whole area Kingdom of Corona when it opened in 2024. But this establishing shot actually does lead where you expect it to, because then we get the lantern scene. And yeah, that's just not much ride, is it? There's not much to that. And when you see this boat ride that's sort of meandering outside, you expect, I think, double or triple what happened inside, or maybe even more. you expect that outside portion to be basically like 0% of the ride, right? You expect the ride part to happen inside, and it's over very, very quickly. There's really not much to it. But if you taper your expectations to this is a boat ride where you go through the lanterns at the end and hear that lovely song, it does that really, really well. Next up, Scuttle Scooters. I've written relatively thrilling spinny ride near water, which is what it is. Like, out of all the little spinny rides, this one has the most thrill to it. And if you want to get on one of these little spinny things, this is the one I recommend because it has, it's pretty fun. The vehicles bob up and down, they actually turn. If you're lucky, you'll be facing some other members of your group, which is super fun. If you're unlucky, you'll be facing some strangers, which is super awkward, but that's fine. That's actually the thing I wrote for the worst part, is awkward staring at strangers. But, and maybe you'll make a new friend doing that, who knows? Sinbad's storybook voyage. And like Fairy Tinkerbell's Busy Buggies, the best thing about this is Chandu. Chandu. Boiling the Tinkerbell ride down to just cheese is pretty reasonable because that's basically what the entire ride is. Boiling Sinbad down to just Chandu is totally unreasonable. This ride has so much going for it. It has really big, amazing animatronics. It has really small, amazing animatronics. It has an animatronic of a guy who looks like a puppet, who's puppeteering a shadow puppet show for other animatronics, including an animatronic dog, which is wagging its tail looking adorable. And by the way, it has the best Disney song ever written as its soundtrack, Compass of Your Heart. If you haven't heard it before, look it up. My word, it's so, so good. Again, this is the Alan Menken song I was talking about. If you don't know who Alan Menken is, then I don't know what to tell you. He wrote all of the Disney songs from Little Mermaid onwards. All the ones you care about were written by him. The worst thing about this ride I've written, it's too short. This is like one of the longest rides in the entire resort. It's like 12 minutes long or something. It's very long, but it's still too short. It's not. It doesn't feel too short in the slightest. The monkey scene's a bit weird, I guess. For those who don't know, this used to be a very different version of the ride, and people complained that it was a bit scary and little kids didn't really like it, so they added this beautiful song, they added the adorable tiger sidekick Chandu, and now it's pretty universally praised. But one of the scenes that they didn't super successfully turn from scary into really nice, I feel like, is the monkey scene. Like, when you see this scene and you learn that it used to be scarier, it's like, oh yeah, this scene was obviously designed to not be nice, right? Because the monkeys are above you, they're like laughing maniacally, and like, no, they're trying to give you bananas. They're not trying to throw rocks at you, we promise. Well, they're clearly trying to throw rocks at us. They don't like us. And even if they did like us, I wouldn't trust them. Would you trust this face? No. Anyway, there's no reason to miss this ride because it normally has a 5-minute wait in a park that's full of an hour plus waits. So always ride Sinbad, no matter what it is. Even if it's closed, break into the door and physically assault anyone who gets in your way and go on this ride because it's fantastic. Next up is one you may be familiar with in other Disney parks around the world, Soaring, but ours is called Soaring Fantastic Flight. And I've written it's elegant. It's a perfect fit for DisneySea. This more mature Disney park that's slightly more tailored to adults, that's more tailored to couples, to older people. A relaxing ride over these various world locations is just kind of perfect for this park. And the way that the queue and the pre-show and the story set up this experience to make you really appreciate the invention of flight, it gives it the grandeur that it really deserves. The worst thing about this ride is that if you're not right in the middle of the middle row, there's like 3 rows of 3 levels, I guess, top, middle, and bottom. And if you're not in the middle row of the middle level, you can get some weird views. You can get like feet in your face, not in your face, but in your view, you know? And you can get like, the screen is curved, which looks great when you're in the middle because it surrounds you, but it doesn't look so hot if you're like at the side and everything's bent and a bit weird. It's not a huge thing, but yeah, if you're sat in the middle, it's a much, much better experience. Next up, one we talked about earlier, the Magic Lamp Theatre. Again, I'm just a sucker for animatronics and real things, so this is mostly a 3D show. It does have some live actors, but my favorite thing is the snake animatronic in the pre-show because it's an animatronic and I like robots, okay? Okay. The worst thing I think about this is it's billed as a magic show, and there are a couple of magic tricks in there, but they're all the sorts of magic tricks that you immediately understand how they're done. And that's fine. It's more of a comedy show than a magic show, I guess. It's all in Japanese, so most of the comedy will go over your head. unless you're native Japanese, obviously. I wish there was like even just one like, oh wow, how did they do that sort of magic trick. I love magic. And if there was just, yeah, just one or two like, oh wow moments, I would definitely watch this more often. But hey, I know that these big shows, like this is a rotating show that goes on again and again and again. You can't have any margin of error, right? The magic tricks have to work flawlessly every single time, and they do. So I understand why they won't do something a bit more exciting, but I wish they would do something a bit more exciting. You've built the theater for this show, right? You could do some, I don't know, whatever. Next up is another little spinner, the last one on our list, the whirlpool. It's a little spinny ride is what's best about it. Is if you want a little spinny ride, it's a little spinny ride. And the worst thing I've written is not much to it, which is why I'm just going to leave it there. Look at it, you know what it does, you know if you want to ride it or not. Finished. Next up is Tower of Terror, which I have a lot more to say about. So the best thing about this is, write in the comments if you disagree with me, but I think this might be the best original story told through a ride. And by ride, I don't just mean like the ride like after you've boarded. I mean looking at the exterior of the building, the entrance, the outdoor portion of the queue, the indoor portion of the queue, the pre-show, the queue after the pre-show, like everything. It tells this story so well. And it's like a real story with like some nuance and some cool characters and a moral to it. Sorry, my like a little freaky. I start talking about Tower of Terror. I've got Shrieky Atundu next to me and then the light goes out. Behave yourself, Shrieky, okay? Luckily, I don't have an elevator up to my apartment anyway, it's just stairs, so I don't have to worry about that. Oh, but yeah, the story is that Harrison Hightower, the owner of this exquisite hotel who takes artifacts from around the world, whether people are willing to give them to him or not, finds this cursed idol, Shrieky Atundu. He takes him up to his private penthouse suite, and then the elevator comes crashing down to the ground, and whilst Harrison Hightower is completely missing with no trace to be found, the only thing that you can see is the cursed idol, Shrieky Atundu. It's a really cool story that they tell really well, and it hypes you up so much. And then when you get in the vehicle, I was disappointed. The first time I wrote this, I was disappointed because I'd ridden every other Tower of Terror around the world before I wrote this one, and I was expecting, with how unique everything else was, I was expecting the ride itself to be more unique, but the effects and the scenes are very similar to the versions that used to be in California and in Paris, and because I'd already done those, I was like, eh, but if you're doing them for the first time, maybe you'll think they're super cool, because they are super cool. But then when it actually gets to going up and down, it goes up and then down and then up and then down and then it's basically done. Which, like Journeys to the Center of the Earth, after all that amazing build-up, can feel a little bit anticlimactic. However, if you visit during the spring, or like from January to around April, I think it is, they normally have a different alternate version of this ride where the thrill portion is a lot longer and there's a lot more to it and it's really cool. And I'm so excited because it's coming back soon and it makes this whole ride amazing. It honestly puts the entire ride a considerable amount higher on my like ranking of all the rides, which I'm going to do a new ranking video soon. So subscribe if you want to see that. But yeah, with the thrills, this is like unstoppable, like one of the best Disney rides ever made. And right next to this ride, both alphabetically and geographically, is Toy Story Mania. Very different pace of ride, and in that true DisneySea fashion, I'm gonna say the best thing about it is how pretty it is. I mean, just look at it, it's gorgeous. They made this whole like pier area of American waterfront based on Coney Island or Luna Park or, you know, all of these influences, but it's the giant Woody head just looks so great, and especially at nighttime when it's all just twinkling. It's a really beautiful little corner of the park, which essentially does amount to just this one ride, but they make it feel very at home. You know, with such a limited space, they've managed to create this great little mini land, which somehow manages to make sense of Toy Story being in 1920s New York. They pulled it off. Very impressive. The worst thing about this is probably, and I've used this for some other rides, so I hesitate, but you're just looking at flat screens once again. I mean, you've got the 3D glasses on, but you know, there's not projection mapped or anything. It's flat screens, and you are essentially playing a game that did come out for the Nintendo Wii. So there is that. Having said that, this is one of those rides that like I enjoyed a lot when I was a little kid, and my grandparents also enjoyed a lot. Like everyone can enjoy this, so that there's something very special about that, you know? Does it have like the best story? Is it the most thrilling? Is it the most exciting? No, it's not. But if this is a ride that your entire family will definitely enjoy, then that's a special thing and it's something you're going to make some special memories on. Next up is one that you're probably not going to make the right kind of memories on unless you speak Japanese, because it's only in Japanese and the whole premise is about talking to turtles. This is Turtle Talk, where you talk to the turtle, is Turtle Talk. You actually talk to a specific turtle. You talk to Crush from Finding Nemo. So you're probably thinking, oh, so this is next to the Finding Nemo ride? Nope, totally different area of the park. Yeah, a bit weird. This is in the SS Columbia. Again, somehow they managed to make sense of Finding Nemo being in the 1920s New York area of the park. These Imagineers, they can really do the impossible, you know? But I've written, funny premise, kids enjoy. The little kids do really enjoy it. He's very entertaining. From what I gather from my daughter. She enjoys the show. But again, the worst thing, it's only in Japanese. So unless you speak native Japanese, you're absolutely going to want to skip this. It can get pretty long waits for what it is as well. And again, another bad thing about it is that you're talking to a turtle in this like gritty, realistic 1920s New York. I mean, whatever. I was just shrunk down to the size of a toy and watching a giant potato singing a song. So I guess that's fine. And this next one is pretty quintessential DisneySea. It's so simple. I don't need to explain it much. This is Venetian gondolas. It's one of those names that does what it says on the tin. You're in the Venetian themed area of the park. You're in a gondola. You've got the gondolier. You get these beautiful views of the park. There's this amazing moment where like you're going through this great Venice themed area, super highly detailed, super immersive. You've got this amazing cast member who's chatting along with you and rowing along. And then you get to this moment where you're in the middle of Mediterranean Harbor and there's nothing but water in between you and Fortress Explorations and the volcano. And it's this incredible view that you're getting right from the water. And the whole ride's worth it just for that. But I mean, the best thing about this ride really is shouting ciao at everyone. That's my favorite part, because the gondoliers quickly teach you to say ciao, and they encourage you to, as another boat's passing, wave to the other guests and say ciao to them. And this big idiot just loves to shout ciao at everyone the whole time, because I'm an adult. But yeah, that part's fun. The worst thing about this ride is it's best at nighttime, but it can be very tricky to ride it at nighttime because they stop it during the nighttime show, Believe Sea of Dreams. Theoretically, they also stop it during daytime harbor shows, but we haven't had any of those for a while. So, I mean, there's the harbor greeting, I guess, now. But yeah, it can be tricky sometimes to catch it open because it does close for these other things, especially if you want to do it at night, which I do recommend. Oh, I want to do that. I haven't done that for years. I want to do a nighttime Venetian gondolas. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think, if you disagree or agree with any of my things, or you want clarification, if you think I'm a big idiot and you want to throw insults at me, please do all of that stuff in the comments. Thank you so much. If you like this sort of thing, please do subscribe. If you really like this sort of thing, please do head over to Patreon. I have links to that in the description. I can do all sorts of stuff for you over there, including early access to videos, Q&As, and also you can message me anytime you want to get trip planning advice. How about that? So yeah, please do check out all of that if that sounds interesting. And how about this video, huh? Hey, you don't have to give me a penny. You can support me. You can do the best thing. One of the best thing you can do right now is just watch another one of my videos. For me, anyway. For you, I mean, that's questionable. Do you have responsibilities? Like, if you're coming to Tokyo Disney soon, maybe the best thing you can do is watch this video. You're probably going to have a better trip if you do, but yeah. Just watch it.